every weekend, 24/7. It does not matter.
Tell them what breaking a black barrier mean, man. What
Come
they
on,
look
man.
like?
What is black, man?
What is black?
Copper Color Productions, man.
Huh?
The Copper Color King, King Cash, Moles, and Money, man. Let's get it.
Black King, stand up for understand what black is. It's the essence, it's the culture. We've been on this earth, you heard? The Bronx was called for Apache. Huh? The Bronx was called for Apache, man. Oh, last breed, bro. We bringing it back, last breed.
Really forever flying in this bitch, man. For the ancestors, baby. For all the ancestors out there, baby.
Copper Color King, man. We back in this bad boy with some more good content, man. I got a real dope one for y'all today. Like, hold on, let me crank this down a little bit more. I got a real dope one for y'all today. I ain't even going front, man. We finna go crazy, man. It's a lot of history to talk about today with this one. I just need you guys to like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell. Stay up to date on all this content, man. Stay plugged in like an extension cord, bro. We going crazy, like I said. Every week, y'all gonna catch this fade. Every week, y'all gonna catch this fade. I'm gonna make that a promise. That is a promise. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, this one gonna be a real historical one, man. We're gonna talk about the mound builders, their works and ancient relics here in ancient America, the true old world, man. This one, bro, I love this one so much because I have countless arguments with people, right, about where the origins of man first began. Like, where did we evolve? And people love to stay connected to this out of Africa theory. That's just not something that I really could get in tune with personally. I'm not even going to sit here and lie. Because that's like disregarding. Hold on. That's like disregarding everything that America had before the arrival of the colonizer. People don't understand that part, though. They don't understand that part. Why? I really don't know. I can't explain that for y'all. I wish I could. But you know, this is what I'm here for. This is why I'm here to educate. I'm here to teach. I'm here to put people on. You know, provide insight. Because that's what it is. That's what people need. They need insight. Right? And this is what we here to provide, man. The mound builders, like I said, their works and relics throughout time. You know, these people existed in America a long time ago. And this stuff predates any archaeological evidence that any scientist or archaeologist has found over there in the East, right? These people existed a long time ago, and they left behind some things that we can't even fathom. We can't even explain it. You feel what I'm saying? Like, scientists can't even explain it. They put all of these dates on it as if they could really put a timestamp on how long ago these people existed, you know? This is where civilization started. Over here in the Americas, we have serpent worship, sun worship. We got tablets with Hebraic scripts on it, right? The Los Lunas Decalogue stone, the Bat Creek stone, Cahokia, Mississippi alone, the Ohio Valley alone. Bruce Lee, what up, family? How you feeling, my brother? How you feeling today? How you feeling, man? We talking about the mound builders' works and ancient relics, man. We gonna get in tune with it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace to the oracles and architects. We're gonna rock with that one for the night. But yeah, man, let's move forward, man. I don't want to continue to run my jibs. I got a video. As a matter of fact, before we even get into the video, let's check out this slideshow real quick, y'all. Let's check out this slideshow real quick. All these ancient relics, ancient mound sites. This one, I want to talk about this one right here specifically. Let's run that one back real quick, right? Let's talk about it real quick. This right here is the head of a serpent. That's the head of a serpent. Why is this important? Well, like I said, at one point of time here in America, you had something called serpent worship. Now, a lot of people would be, matter of fact, you go into church and you start trying to explain serpent worship to people. They're going to start looking at you like you crazy. Like, what? What are you talking about? Worship a snake? What? But people don't understand. They don't understand how deep this runs, right? People need to understand the Bible to understand serpent worship, right? Moses walked with a staff that had the head of a serpent. Moses, right? So this stuff runs deep. Like I said, a lot of their relics existed a long time ago. They predate any arrival of any colonial American over here. They predate the arrival of the Northmen when they came in 1000 AD. These things go all the way back to BC. Let's just say 200 BC, 300 BC, and possibly even before that. if folks was keeping track of time then, right? But serpent worship, this one is going to be real important, because as we continue to go through the story of the mound builders, we're going to see serpent worship pop up several times from several different tribes and several different places here in America. Right. All right, talk to him, bro. Talk to him. Several different places here in America. Let's continue the slideshow. What else we got? Here we go. A mound site here in Mississippi. This is a truncated mound. Let's go back to this one. A truncated mound. There was something here at the top of this mound, right? Truncated pyramid, sorry, because the top is knocked off. Whatever was at the top, they blew it off and excavated it and took everything and sent it over there to the Smithsonian. They thought they were slick. But why I wanted to mention this one, right, is because this is one of the many ancient sites that you could find over there in Mississippi. As you can see now, it's covered with grassland, and we got steps which probably existed thousands of years before, but were probably built from a different type of material. Let's continue. I love looking at these type of things, man. Right here, we got a effigy, or a pipe. Right here, this is a peace pipe. And the animal here depicted on the peace pipe would be an otter or a beaver, something like that. And this was found inside one of the Mississippi mounds after they blew it up. Now, what's crazy is, you would think, right? Well, most people think, according to history, right, there wasn't no type of life here in America before the arrival of Columbus. If that's the case, why do they have peace pipes right here in the shapes of animals, right? This just goes to show that they were co-inhabiting with animals, many different animals. And why is this important? Well, we're going to dive deep into mastodons, giraffes, saber-toothed tigers. So many different animals here in America, right? Mad different animals here in America. Let's continue. What we got? Serpent mound right here, the great serpent mound. This one right here is even tough too. Looking at it, I'm not even gonna lie, it's fire. The way they built this in the shape of a serpent is fire. It goes to show, like I said, they were serpent worship here in America. They built this mound here in the shape of a serpent. Now, this is another ancient archaeological sighting found here in America. Here in America, right? But this will go over many people's heads, because they wouldn't be able to understand, or they haven't even seen it before. They wouldn't even believe it. All they know is the Great Pyramids of Giza, right? They don't know that America had it all first. Ancient America, the true old world. What we got next? The Bat Creek Stone. We're going to talk about this one a little bit. Now, why is this one crazy? Because, like I said, this one has Hebraic script written all on the stone, right? So we know the Hebrew, or the Hebraic script, or the language that those people spoke at the time, was mainly found over there in the east, so to speak. Why do we have these stones here in America with these scripts on it, right? Why is this here in America? If America is not the ancient, true old world, why can we find these things here in America? Like I said, we're going to talk about this one a little bit more, just to give a more in-depth explanation on what we're looking at. Now, this right here is a drawing of what the excavation of a mound looks like. Most mounds in America, or over here in the southeast, are burial mounds, but they also serve as lookout posts and defense stations. We're going to learn about that as we go through the Mound Builders book. But as you can see, the burials, and then as you dig deeper, you start seeing all of the copper findings and a lot of the other ornaments and bones and whatever the case may be. And this is from years and years of layering and layering and layering. In fact, a lot of the mounds that were built on top of sites that already had bones and burial sites underneath. They just kept layering over the dirt. Let's continue. This is a good photo, though, to give people clear a clear description of what the inside of a mound might look like. Let's continue. All right, here we go. Another peace pipe. Like I said, mastodons, baby. This one right here is a depiction of what would be an elephant or a mastodon found here in the Ohio Valley in America. Yeah, in the Ohio. I don't know why I keep getting tongue twisted. The Ohio Valley here in America. Right? I'll give y'all a fun fact real quick. Right? The colonizer and their mindset of manifest destiny didn't make their way into the Ohio Valley until after the 1600s. After the 1600s, right? When France and Spain were here in the Americas, the Ohio Valley was undiscovered. That was no man's land. They didn't know what existed over there. But when you go over there and you start excavating the land, like a lot of these archaeologists did, you start finding things like this. Peace pipes in the shapes of mastodons and beavers and tablets where he breaks script on it, right? The Los Lunas Decalogue stone. This is another one found in New Mexico. This one was found in New Mexico. And we're going to talk about this one a little bit more too, and why this one is important. But yeah, man, wanted to give y'all this slideshow just to give y'all a brief explanation or description, like I said, of what America looked like a long time ago. Pete Quetzalcoatl. Yeah, Quetzalcoatl. There's a lot of links from America to Mexico as far as that stuff is concerned, but we're going to talk about that in a later episode. But like I said, to give y'all a brief description of what America looked like thousands and hundreds and thousands of years ago. There was life, beautiful life here in the Americas, beautiful. And what the inhabitants were able to do with the land that the Most High gave them, even if they were sun worshipers, some of them, they made it happen. And it's amazing and it's beautiful to see because it debunks everything that we know about history till this day. Till this day. So like I said, man, we're going to dive deep into it. Before we go into the factual information, man, I got a video for y'all. I just wanted to play this video real quick. Like I said, to give y'all a description of what the insides of these mounds look like. And I got the proof, man. A lot of giant bones were found inside these mounds. A lot. And it's just proof, more proof that there were several different peoples living here in the Americas. Not only people who were copper colored, but you had giants, you had dwarfs or Skrælingers, right? Basically midgets, or dwarfs, whatever the case may be. You had aboriginals of all different skin complexions. Like, America was a melting pot and a mix of nations, right? The one thing that we just have to understand is that before the arrival of most of these other nations, this land was dominated by the true man, the true copper-colored man. When you look up the etymology of Adam in the Bible, you figure out and you learn that it means man of earth, red man, black earth, right? Stuff like that. America, the only land with the most history, right? That remains a mystery. We're going to dive deep into it. Let's check it out.
All across North America, in nearly every state, there are ancient earthworks, from Serpent Mound to the Cahokia Pyramids in Illinois to sprawling effigy mound complexes all across the nation. Buried underneath these mounds, early Americans discovered something incredible, something that has been completely removed from our history books. Early American settlers discovered giant human skeletons at nearly every one of these ancient mound sites, ranging all the way up to 18 feet in height. This mysterious race of giants, which are now known as the Mound Builders, are not talked about in any official history textbook. It seems to have been completely removed from the modern academic world. Even though there are countless accounts of archaeologists studying these bones, when they were first discovered in early America. But it seems that today, no one is willing to talk about them, for reasons unknown. Modern archaeologists will refer to these cultures that existed before the Native Americans, but with all references to giants removed. Whoever removed these giants from the official history has failed to remove every trace of them, as there are countless thousands of historical and newspaper accounts of the bones being discovered and living giants being encountered by early explorers, still available to the public. In the North American cases of giant remains being uncovered in the burial mounds, the newspaper
Don't go this way?
Ah, crap. Sorry, y'all.
I've always loved this.
We're gonna go back to it.
all in mound sites, talked about in any official existed before the native retrace of them, as there are countless thousands of historical and newspaper accounts of the bones being discovered and living giants being encountered by early explorers, still available to the public. In the North American cases of giant remains being uncovered in the burial mounds, the newspaper reports that the bones were shipped off to the Smithsonian research complexes and never heard from again. According to the accounts, anyone who discovered giant remains and then sent them to the Smithsonian and then requested information about the status of their investigation receives a letter back stating that they have never received human remains, or that they have been, quote, reclassified as something like mastodon bones. Researchers have been trying to understand how and why this could have happened for over 100 years.
Now, one thing I want to point out, right? One thing I want to point out, and I hate when TikTokers and social media people do this, but they want people to be melanated so bad, right? I'm gonna keep it a buck. Right? Like, this is all for the copper color community. But they want people to be melanated so bad that they will label anything and almost everything melanated. Now, I'm going to point something out for y'all, right? I don't know if y'all seen this video that I put out, but it was basically about the Caribs, giants, and cannibals here in the Americas. And in that video, I referenced this part right here, right? This is from the Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Natchez, the history of these tribes, right? And in this book, they described giants to be of a white complexion. In fact, they called these giants Nahulo, Atak Toby, white man, man eater, man of white complexion, man eaters of flesh, and these people were giants. Now, saying all that to say, like I said, there were multiple different races here in America around that time. And I don't want to disregard what the brother posted in the video, right? This video, it's all facts. There are giant bones found in a lot of these mounds, but when they talk about giants and the mound builders, we have to remember there were multiple different peoples who were in America building mounds. A lot of tribes built mounds, but those were burial mounds. The mound builders came before the tribes that we know of today. And we're going to learn about that. We're going to learn more about that. The mound builders are different groups of peoples. Serpent worshippers, sun worshippers, giants, Skrellings, aboriginals. Different peoples. That's how ancient America is, though, and it all ties us back to here, to Atlantis. It ties us back to Atlantis. And people be thinking that's cap, right? But how do you explain the G.E. Kincaid findings? Right? What did G.E. Kincaid find? Who is G.E. Kincaid? And what did he find? G.E. Kincaid, right? Let's talk about him real quick. Let's find something more authentic, though. Right, let's find something more descriptive for us, right? Lost civilization in Grand Canyon was Egypt, right? And this one is interesting too, because if you Google Maps, a lot of these pyramid shaped looking pyramids or whatever the case may be there in the Grand Canyon, they all have them named after different ancient gods, so to say. So what does it say? Right? Let's just fast forward a little bit. It all started in 1909 when purported Smithsonian Institution explorer G.E. Kincaid discovered strange caverns during an expedition directed by Smithsonian anthropologist S.A. Jordan. The entrance to the cavern was nearly inaccessible, but Kincaid was able to get in to make an incredible discovery. The enormous caves which radiated out from a center cavern, like spokes on a wheel, were full of artifacts, including statues, copper weapons, even granaries full of seeds. Its size indicated that 50,000 people could live inside comfortably. But even more amazingly, the artifacts didn't match up to anything in the known record, rather appearing to be of Native American origin. As one might expect, the objects had distinct Egyptian or Tibetan designs. Could there actually have been an entire civilization of Egyptians living there? And if so, how did they get there? Right? This is the G.E. Kincaid story. And we're going to save this one for another live stream, because this one is really interesting as well. Because they talk about these quote-unquote Egyptian hieroglyphs and findings. However, they are not Egyptian. They are not Egyptian. They belong to who? To the people of Atlantis. That's my claim. Because they're so ancient, right? There's no telling if Egyptians would have even migrated here to America. If you ask me, they came from America and migrated out to where they were found at, thus inducing that title, the Lost Tribes, right? The Lost Tribes. Yeah, bro. Yeah. It gets even more interesting. That G.E. Kincaid story goes so deep, the man he even disappeared off the face of the world. He disappeared off the face of the world. You won't be able to find that man. No records of him existed after those findings. And this is my thing. There could have been these, right? The Pueblos. The Pueblos. What are Pueblos? Those are those little right here, are like homes in the mountains or inside the rocks or inside the canyons, little homes inside the canyons. But they could have belonged to those people, but as they stated, they didn't belong. They weren't of any Native American or Aboriginal origin. So yeah, ancient America, the true old world. Going back to the giant stuff though, let's check this part out. So it says, in the fall of 1880, Mr. William Beverly, an old gentleman, 84 years of age, living near Plano, Collin County, Texas, and who was born in West Tennessee and there lived to manhood, stated to me that near his father's house on a small creek were 21 mounds in consecutive order, forming a crescent. Now, why is this part important, right? Like I said, it was a lot of sun and moon worship, worship to the astrology, to the stars and stuff here in the Americas. And they formed these mounds in the form of a crescent to further point in the direction that they were devoting it to their form of worship, to the form of sun worship. They did it in the form of a crescent, right? I don't know if you guys ever really looked at it, but like sun worship symbols, they're all around us. They're all around us. Like when you see these things right here with the sun and the moon and stuff like that, it's all around us. That's all sun worship, right? Solar deity, deities who represent the sun. A lot of this you could see Helios, a lot of this you could find in pagan religions, pagan religions or whatever the case may be. And then you had the serpent worship. But let's go back to the book. Right, yeah. In the form of a crescent, each distant from the other about 50 feet, and each with the base of 75 or 80 feet in diameter, and rising to an average height of 40 feet. That he, when a boy 12 years of age, was present with his father when the excavation was made in one of the mounds in which human bones of enormous size were found. the femoral bones being 5 inches longer than the ordinary length, and the jaw bones were so large as to slip over the face of a man with ease. Right? Look, proof of different tribes. We went over this in that last video. You guys should go check it out. The Caribs, cannibals and stuff like that in ancient America. Actually, the video is going to be linked in the description. You guys can go check it out, right? Who are the Skraeling? They said the Skraeling were Eskimo. They said the Skraeling were Eskimo and that they were of short stature, right? And then they talk about these people called the Nahulo, right? They were of white complexion. They were giants, right? And they said syphilis killed off these giants. Yo, it was a whole lot of shit going on here in America, man. Like, this is why we got to really get into it. Like, y'all should go check out that video because I did the whole breakdown of this part right here, right? Look what they said. Mr. Grant Licinium, with whom I was personally acquainted with, was an educated white man who came to the Choctaw Nation after the advent of the missionaries and settled at Columbus, then a small place, and afterwards wrote a MS of the Choctaw habits, customs, traditions, and legends, which has been lost. Stated that they, the mound builders, were, according to the Choctaw tradition, a hunting people. Yeah, they were. They were. Some were agricultural, some were hunters, you know. And look, now I believe that the mound builders were of a much fairer complexion than the Indian, because the Indians were much darker. Perhaps almost, if not quite, as fair as we, and were an agricultural people also. They were agriculturals, hunters, multiple different peoples, and of many different complexions, right? To point it in the fairer complexion direction, that's just to further support their ideology that, you know, white man was the man that dominated majority of the world, or who are the most ancient people, or whatever the case may be. That's not entirely true at all. There's a lot of proof out there that these mound builders were of copper skin tone or were of a darker complexion, and that's just in the relics alone. We only know certain type of people who spoke specific languages, right? And what language did Jesus speak? It was Aramaic, right? And it was only 3 languages as far as the languages in the Bible, right? It's Arabic, Hebrew, right? And Aramaic. Those are the Semitic languages and are a branch of the Afro-Asiatic language family. They include Arabic, Amharic, Aramaic, Hebrew, and numerous other ancient and modern languages. Afro-Asiatic, right? Now, dodge the Asiatic part. We all know the Afro is just to represent a copper skin-toned person. Asiatic is just to represent what could have been the possible origins of the copper-colored man. But everything started here in America. We're not going to sit here and disregard that. But the only people who were Semitic, according to the Bible, Shem's descendants, are all Negro. Yeah, bro. You know we cook up, Brody. You know we go crazy, bro. You know that, bro. We go nuts, bro. You know that. Right? So mound builders, they were of many different skin complexions, right? Many different skin complexions, right? But a lot of that stuff got lost. Let's see what else they say right here, right? All right, so this is about the giants. Disease and war were no doubt the main cause of their extinction. Detached offshoots of them may have amalgamated with the Indian tribes and thus lost their physical peculiarities. Don't mind me, y'all. Have an issue with stuff like this, right? I'm not slow. I know what the word means, peculiar. I just have a hard time pronouncing it. Peculiarities, but at the same time kept up with their tribal organization. The Mandan Indians, now extinct, are supposed to have been a degenerate and amalgamated offshoot of the mound builders. In their manners and customs, they were strikingly different from other Indians. I have no doubt but the researches of antiquarians, in some manner to us yet unknown, will throw much light upon the early occupants of this continent. Right, and then this is when they go into the Nahulo. They were a hunting people. They ate flesh. They were giants. Right? They were giants and cannibals. Moving forward, right? These are just to talk about one of the findings that they found here in America. And let's just talk about it real quick. Let's just talk about it. Like I said, we're going to talk about it. So let's just talk about it. So the Los Lunas Decalogue Stone. What is it? Now, this stone right here that I just showed y'all. Or even better, just so we can stay on track. Let me do this for y'all, right? Let me do this for y'all real quick. Just so we can stay on track. That's this object that I showed y'all right here. It always confused me when Jews say anti-Semitic. Yeah, we understand, right? We gonna leave them alone though. We gonna leave that stuff alone because we know that puts you in some deep waters dealing with those folks, whatever, right? Don't mention the Khazars. Shh. Shout out Cootie Mayo, man. But yeah, the Los Lunas Decalogue Stone. This was found here in New Mexico. And this is what I'm talking about. They finding things in America, here in America, with ancient Hebraic inscriptions written on it, but they don't belong to Hebrews and they don't belong to Egyptians. So the question is, who would they belong to? Well, this is why I like to connect it to Atlantis, right? Alright, so the Atlantean language is a constructed language created by Mark Orkran. Oh, whatever. They're going to go into bull crap right here. So let's go into the origins. What they going to say? To accomplish this, Orkran looked for common characteristics from various world languages and was heavily inspired by Proto-Indo-European language. His main source of words, roots, and stems for the language is Proto-Indo-European, but Orkran combines this with Biblical Hebrew. Now we know in most Disney movies or whatever the case like that, there's always some type of truth hidden within those movies, man. Always some type of truth, right? Why would they combine it with Biblical Hebrew? Why would they do that? The Atlantean alphabet, let's see, right? Oh, they're going to bring us back to the Disney film. But yeah, why would they connect it with Biblical Hebrew? Why would they do that? There's a reason for everything, right? Like I said, there's a reason for everything. Biblical Hebrew was one of the languages that was spoken in Atlantis at one point in time. I'm trying to find an article for y'all, so I'm not just talking. I can back it up, right? What it say? All right, they're going to talk about Phoenician, right? That might have been the language that the Atlantean people spoke. Let's check it out. Let's see. We'll see if we can find something related to it. Oh, the theory of Phoenician discovery of the Americas suggests that the earliest old world contact with the Americas was not with Columbus or Norse settlers, but with the Phoenicians, or alternatively, other Semitic peoples in the first millennium BC. What they say. The Sargasso Sea may have been known to the early mariners, or as the poem Ora Martamia by the late 4th century author Rufus Festus Avienus describes a portion of the Atlantic as being covered with seaweed, citing a now lost account by the 5th century BC Carthaginian navigator Himilco. In the late 18th century, a number of people speculated on the origins of petroglyphs on Dighton Rock. Another archaeological finding. Boom, look, this is why research is fun. I didn't even know this one. I didn't even know about this one. Let's see what it say though, right? In Berkeley, Massachusetts, Ezra Stiles, then president of Yale College, believed them to be Hebrew. Anton Court de Geblin argues in Le Monde Primitif, The Primeval World, that they commemorated an ancient visit to the east coast by a group of sailors from Carthage, modern-day Tunisia. In the 19th century, belief in an Israelite visit to the Americas became part of Mormonism. That's true though. That's true. We gonna back this up. We gonna back this claim up, right? In his 1871 book, Ancient America, John Denson Baldwin repeats some of the arguments given for Phoenician visits to America, but ultimately refutes them, saying, if it were true that the civilization found in Mexico and Central America came from people of the Phoenician race, it would be true that they built in America as they never built anywhere else, that they established a language here radically unlike their own, and that they used a style of writing totally different from which that they carried into every other region occupied by their colonies. All of the forms of alphabetical writing used in present Europe and Southwestern Asia came directly or indirectly from that anciently invented by the race to which the Phoenicians belong. And they have traces of common relationship which can be easily detected. Now, the writing of the inscriptions at Palenque, Copan, and elsewhere in the ruins has no more relatedness to the Phoenicians than to the Chinese writing. It does not have a single characteristic that can be called Phoenician. So he's debunking it. That man's debunking it. But all of this stuff about Phoenician this, Phoenician that, whatever the case may be, Carthage this, Carthage that, if it ain't true, then how do you prove stuff like this? How do you prove these inscriptions? What you gonna say? Just some Native Americans came and scribbled on a rock? But these are older than Native Americans, though. Those are older than Native Americans. So what they gonna say? What they gonna say? These are older than Native Americans, right? Like I said, they brought a new archaeological finding to our attention. We didn't even know about Dighton Rock in Massachusetts. How old is it? Right? In 1680, the English colonist Rev. Johnson Danforth made a drawing of the petroglyphs, which has been preserved in the British Museum. So he drew, in 1680, he drew something that he saw that had already existed on this land prior. We're going to find this Phoenician Atlantis connection. We're going to figure it out. Atlantis was a legendary island, right? We know that it was a legendary island. We know that, right? But we're going to find more that's going to connect us to Atlantis and the Phoenicians, right? But let's continue. So where I wanted to move forward to. Oh, yeah, back to the Los Lunas Decalogue Stone. So, right, yeah, it's in New Mexico. And they about to explain to us a translation of what the Los Lunas Decalogue Stone states. Remember, this is Hebraic script. This is all Hebrew. What is it doing here in America? If ancient America ain't the true old world, what is it doing here in America? Fox and Socks. What it do chicken stew, bro? What it do chicken stew? First maps, yeah, we gonna get into that. I'm gonna show them a little. I'm gonna show y'all that one. Though people don't know, America, it was the land in the middle. We was in the middle. We are what connected everything, right? We connected everything. America is the true old world, bro. That's it. Nothing more, nothing said, right? But yeah, so the translation of the Los Lunas inscription, right? The stone inscription is carved in Old Hebrew letters. These are almost identical in shape and font style with Phoenician characters. This is bringing us back to Phoenicians. People in Atlantis, from Atlantis, their writing style was Phoenician. Their hieroglyphics were Phoenician. So we gotta, people gonna bullcrap me about this one too, but it is what it is, bro. I'm just saying, man, how do you explain this stuff? How can you explain this? There's no explanation for it. Each line in the message is to be read from right to left. In the Hebrew written language, there are no vowels. It only uses consonants. Each statement is separated from the next one by a dot sign. This separation style is not uncommon for Old Hebrew or Phoenician inscriptions. E.g., the Middle Eastern Moabite stone, 9th century BCE, follows a similar pattern using dot separators between words. Oops, sorry y'all. The Los Lunas inscription starts with the top line, continues on the third line, goes back into the second line, the one that was inserted later, hence the smaller line spacing. It then goes on with the left half of the third line and continues all the way down to the last line. A detailed interlinear translation, which has been compiled from a careful drawing of the Los Lunas inscription, can be studied below. Let's see what it say, y'all. Out the land has taken you, who your God, Yehovah. Yehovah. You know them J's is silent. Them J's is silent. Yehovah. I am, my face, before other gods. No, sorry, not the J's is silent. There is no J. My face before other gods. There be, not take, not idle, shall you make, not of slaves from house of Egypt. Day of, remember, in vain, Yehovah, name. Woo! So that, and your mother, your father, honor to keep holy the Sabbath, your God, Yehovah, that ground upon your days will be long. Not you must steal, not you must commit adultery, not you must, you must not steal, you must not commit adultery, you must not murder, you not to you has given. Your neighbor wife of you must desire, not false witness against neighbor give. This is the commandments, y'all. This is the commandments. Yeah, well, Lebanon stole it. They stole it. They stole it. They stole everything. They'll steal. They like to steal. They thieves. They steal. All they do is steal. Normal Hebrew spelling is without the HE character. Probably an insertion mark for an additional line. The second one from top. Write 3 characters. And as y'all see, they explain the writing. But here's a modern day translation. I am Yehovah, your God, who has taken you out of the land of Egypt, from the house of slaves. There must be no other gods before my face. No other gods. No sun worship. You must not make any idol. You know how y'all love your favorite female and male rappers nowadays, right? You must not take the name of Yehovah in vain. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Honor your father and your mother so that your days may be long in the land that Yehovah, your God, has given to you. You must not murder. You must not commit adultery. You must not steal. You must not give a false witness against your neighbor. You must not desire the wife of your neighbor or anything that is his. Found here in America, y'all. Here in America. Can I get a copper color? Amen. I ain't gonna get too hyped. I know I'm cooking right now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I say. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm proud to be an American, and at least I know I'm free. Nah, let me not even, man. Listen, man. Ancient America, bro. The true old world. Now, one thing I want to mention too before we even get into the book. I know we've been talking for a long time now. We 47 minutes in, so this is gonna be a long one, man. Y'all just put your seatbelts on it. Buckle up. Buckle up. Oh, right. I wanted to show y'all real quick, right? And this is I put this one up in my Ancient America True Old World Part 1 video. You guys could go check that out on the Copper Colored King channel. But they naming temples, right? They naming these rocks after these gods. Vishnu Temple, Osiris Temple, Horus Temple, here in America. Here in America, Thor Temple. Here in a Tower of Ra. Here in America, the Isis Temple. Here in America, y'all. Here in America. So you gotta understand when they talking about Fox and Stocks, you crazy, bro. Nah, yeah, Bruce Lee, you know the vibes, bro. You know what we got going on. But yeah, man. Here in America. Let me drop the slideshow. Sorry, y'all. Here in America, they naming these temples after these ancient pagan gods, right? That could have possibly existed at one time. You know, I'm not going to sit here and negate that. I went to Phoenix myself, and I found some stuff, right? Where my TikTok at? Let me see. Let's get the TikTok open real quick. And it was symbols of sun worship. They had symbols of sun worship in Phoenix. Y'all go follow me on TikTok, man. Copper Colored King. Check it out.
One thing,
right? Sorry, no, it's not this one. That's the Copper Colored Aborigines. Look at that. These steles that I'm pretty sure are older than anything existing on the ground that I was walking on at that time. These was representations of sun worship. They were aligned with the sun. The sun shined its brightest in that one spot. In that one spot. I went to Phoenix myself to see and figure this stuff out. Right? They're gonna talk about it, and y'all just stay tuned, man. The vlog is dropping real soon. We went on a great adventure. Like, we went on an adventure. I'm not even going front. That shit was fire. It was fire. And to make note, what they using to find a lot of these things now is something called LiDAR technology. And this is another video. Y'all stay in tune, right? It was developed in 1960. Inspired by the invention of the laser and the radar, it was first used to measure the distance to the moon by NASA during the Apollo missions. All right, cap that. You're gonna cap that. What they doing is targeting objects or using on the surface with a laser and measuring the time for the reflected light to return to blah blah blah. What they doing with LiDAR is they're uncovering things that are unearthed beneath the ground. And they're doing it over there in the Amazon rainforest. They doing it over there in the Amazon rainforest. And the things they finding over there in the rainforest predate majority of the stuff that we know in history till today. They finding this stuff using LiDAR. They unearthing cities, massive cities that existed thousands of years ago. Yeah, ancient America, the true old world. I'm going to keep repeating that. I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face, right? Now we're going to get into it, right? Now, I said I had some fire, right? And I said I had facts for y'all. I said I had proof. I said we was going to talk about it. I'm not one of these people that be out here that just be copying work and making videos for the fun of it. It's not like that. You know, I will tell y'all straight up, I'm doing this because I found out my family ancestry. So after discovering that, I have to go all the way in it. Full speed, right? Full speed. We gonna run through this bad boy. We got several different chapters to tap into. They gonna talk about so much, so we definitely gotta just take notes and pay attention, right? Like I said, man, dates. The dates, the timing. It's very important because you got to understand this stuff is extremely, extremely old. And if this existed here in America, then what does this say about the history that was already taught to us? That means the world over there in the East is no longer the old world. This ain't the new world. This is the true old world. Let's go into it. So yeah, they have the introduction part here, right? That's going to break something down for us real quick. And I just want to dive into it real quick, right? So it says, the 400th anniversary of the discovery of America will make a work on prehistoric America very opportune. The author has spent 12 or 14 years in preparing such a work and now takes pleasure in presenting it to the public, just like me. During this time, there have been many discoveries, consequently many changes of thought. These discoveries and changes have had regard first to the mound builders' problem. Some 40 years ago, it was held that the Mississippi Valley must have been settled by a civilized people who had migrated from some historic country. Silver swords, scabbards, iron knives, Hebrew inscriptions, right? They didn't migrate from another country. Oh, and by the way, in America, there were different countries in America. The America we see today is comprised of states, but it wasn't like that a long time ago. There were countries. You could fit about 50 something small countries into America alone, and that's just me rounding out a number. It's probably more than that you could fit into America alone. So keep in mind, even if they say migrated from some historic country, they could be talking about another place here in America. Let's continue. Triune vases and other curious relics were dwelt upon as provenness. The Mormon delusion grew out of an enormous theory as to the lost tribes. This is not delusion, because if it was delusion, then how do you explain that? How do you explain that? What kind of delusion does it take to walk in the mountain in New Mexico and find this hair dug into the rock? Oh yeah, you real delusional. You real delusional. You real delusional. Yeah, basically, it's a scavenger hunt. It's a scavenger hunt. Yeah, that's how we gonna look at it. Yep. Find the information and piece it together yourself, right? And then once you do, you pour that out into other people. We all got cups that need to be filled. And there's brothers all throughout the social platforms that's filling cups and at the same time filling their own cup. So in this scavenger hunt, we gotta help each other. We're gonna fill these cups up, spread out this informational awareness. But like, yeah, if it's delusion, then how the hell do you explain this? I'm telling you, when I was walking in Phoenix and I stumbled upon them steles, I'm like, there's no way. There is no way, because I promise you, I went by myself. I'm from New York, so in my head, I'm safe anywhere. I'm just walking, and I just see these steles. I'm like, oh, what's that? It's just a reason for everything, you know. You go in the mountain, you see these inscriptions, right? What do you say to yourself? Or you go in the mountain, or even, yeah, the serpent head, right? How do you explain these things? That's the question, right? I'm trying to get to the Back Creek Stone, but I don't know what's going on, y'all. Another one. How do you explain these things, right? Found here in America. It's not like they came here on massive boats and from Africa and was like, yep, we're gonna leave all of these relics here. It's no way, bro. These things were made here and left here by the people who lived here. That's that. Nothing more, nothing less, right? There's no delusion tied to it. They just cannot accept the fact that it's the truth, right? And I'm not a Hebrew, by the way, if that is what most people would think. I'm just closely connected to what the truth may be, or sounds like, if that makes sense. What else does it say? Latterly, the opinion has gone to the other extreme. The mound builders were savages and differed from the modern Indians only in that they used stone and pottery instead of iron and tin for their weapons and utensils. This opinion, however, is far out of the way as the previous one. This people inhabited the Mississippi Valley during the same time that the cliff dwellers and Pueblos did the Great Plateau. and the civilized races did the central provinces and constituted a cultus which differed essentially from any other known to history. This is the position which the author has sought to establish in the first volume of the series. By taking this as a true position, we work both ways. Carry the Mound Builder period back into antiquity and bring it down near the historic time. We may ascribe a longer period of occupation to the people and at the same time make the prehistoric condition more important and marked. The cultus of the earlier races is magnified, but the difference between them and the invader hunter tribes is increased. Now, invading hunter tribes, we got to keep this in mind, right? The starting peoples that were here were agricultural specialists. That means they benefited off the land, right? These invading hunter tribes were the people who transitioned the modern Aboriginal into the now known Native American, the hunters, the Nahulo, right? Like he said in the Choctaw Chickasaw and Natchez book, right? He spoke about it. They stated the Choctaw said that the mound builders were a tradition of a hunting people. He certainly must be in error on this point. In error. Not so. Licinium used the pronoun they, which reference to the Nahulo and not to the mound builders, of whom their traditions they never spoke. And remember, these Nahulos, these hunters, right, were flesh eaters and pagans of white complexion. All right, let me take away the pagan part. Flesh eaters and child sacrifices and people that just were doing some pretty disgusting things, right? That's who the Nahulo were. Also, they also said they were giants. So these hunter tribes, these invading hunter tribes, you got to think about it. They were not aboriginal to this land. They were the invaders. The invading hunter tribes is increased, right? Animal totemism has been a subject of much inquiry during the past few years. It is a system which had prevailed among the uncivilized races everywhere. It also existed extensively among the aboriginal races. Yes, animal totemism. They use animals, right? Animals as figures on their pipes and shit like that. Here you go. This is where you get the mastodon from. Elephants, boars, horses, donkeys, camels, and many others, turtles, many others are native or aboriginal to America. Let y'all know that right now. Shout out Turtle Island. Yeah, it is a system which had prevailed among the uncivilized races everywhere. Blah blah blah. The book on emblematic mounds illustrates this. The totems of a tribe of hunters were wrought into earth shapes and constitute striking features of the landscape. They perpetuate the divinities of the peoples and embody their superstitions. These sun worshippers. Animal worship is the key to the interpretation of these effigies. The myths and symbols of the prehistoric races are proven very interesting and rich. Some of these show striking resemblances to the myths which are so well known as belonging to the historic countries and give increasing evidence of pre-Columbian contact with other continents. What? Pre-Columbian contact with other continents? You telling me that, again, they were coming out of America and going to other places? Say what? What? The Nagas for sure. We the Nagas for sure. What you mean? Yeah. The Nahulo Neanderthal descendants. Big facts, bro. Cavemen for sure. That's the real Asian, the real Chinese folk, the real Manchurian. No disrespect to them peoples, but those the real cavemen. Yeah, we the Nagas though, for sure. Right? What it say? It is but a very few years since the autochthonous theory was adopted, but discoveries have already thrown doubt on this theory. And now the burden of proof rests upon the authors of it. Though the law of parallel development is acknowledged by all, There are very strange resemblances between the symbols in this country and those found in the Far East. What? Let's talk about something. The Popol Vuh, right? We're gonna do a video on it, right? But the connections between the Mayans and the Hindu Nagas, right? There's a big connection between Nagas and the Mayans, right? And we're going to talk about this in a later video, right? All of these representations, a lot of these are similar to Mayan mythology. The Far East, what are they talking about? This is what they talking about. These Nagas, serpent people who live in secret underground cities. Oh yeah? Then who is the Mayan serpent god? Kukulkan. Kukulkan. Real Nagas run the yard. What you talking about, man? Let's tell him something, bro. I'm tired of chatting, man. I'm tired of chatting, bro. Kukulkan. Right? Quetzalcoatl. The serpent gods. The serpent gods, bruh. I'm trying to tell y'all. There's a big connection between all of these peoples. A big connection to all of these peoples. Why would they say that? There are very strange resemblances between the symbols in this country and those found in the Far East. What did I tell y'all? There was serpent worship and sun worship here in the Americas. The work on symbolism will bring out these points and will be valuable on this account. Right? Hold up. Big drop. Some more before we even get into the first chapter. What it says: the Indians of the North and the mound builders of the Mississippi Valley and of the civilized races are described in connection with the structures of the cliff dwellers and the Pueblos, and as they all represent different styles of architecture. That they were an American style of architecture is the position taken by the author of this work, though it is uncertain whether its development was entirely separate from contact with other nations. The date of civilization in Mexico has been traced back to the 13th century, and in Central America to the 6th century. Some would place the beginning of the Maya civilization before the Christian era. Big drop. Why are they placing it before? Because it came first. Serpent worship. I'm trying to explain to y'all, man. I'm trying to explain to y'all. Moses had a serpent staff. According to the Bible, Neshutan was a metal serpent mounted on a staff that Moses made by God's command. Woo! Woo! I'm just trying to tell y'all, man. I'm just trying to tell y'all the truth without telling y'all any lies. Right? According to the Bible, Neshutan was a metal serpent mounted on a staff that Moses made by God's command. Serpent worship found here in the Americas. The Mayans predate the Christian era. Why is that? Because the Maya, the serpent worshippers here in America, are the real Christians, so to say. The real worshippers of the Most High, Yahweh, Yahshua HaMashiach. Yeah. I mean, hey. People gotta understand, bro. we got to understand, America is the true old world. And that's that, right? We're going to go into the first chapter now. As we can see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mad chapters. Let's just say we got wild chapters to go through. So this is going to be a long series, man. I want y'all to just, like I said, tune in, pay attention, like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to the platform, Morals of Money platform. Subscribe to the Copper Colored King YouTube channel. Follow me on TikTok, Twitter, all platforms. Copper Colored King, man. Donations, Cash App, King Willow 15, man. Whatever y'all want to do, however y'all choose to support this channel, man. Do whatever y'all want to do, man. Let's get into it, bro. So we going into chapter 1 now. Check out this right here, right? Let's turn it. Conical Mound at Marietta. This is in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. Georgia. A burial mound. A burial mound, right? Also, to make note, to make note, I want to show y'all something real quick. This is on page 226 of the Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Natchez history book, where they just prove it more for us. Like, that's why I like cross-referencing different articles, books, whatever the case may be, because I don't like taking one reference and just running with the story. I like being able to connect the dots, right? Big drop. Most mounds are burial grounds, right? Thus, many of the mounds found in Mississippi and Alabama are but the cemeteries of the ancient Choctaws, since as often as the bone houses became filled. Many of the mounds in Mississippi and Alabama are burial mounds. A lot of these mounds are burial mounds. The ancients are buried there. The ancient Americans. Chapter 1. The mysterious races. They're going to talk about the different races that we could find here in America. Now, don't mind the highlighting, y'all. Please don't. This is just for me, for my personal reference. I do this when I read. It just comes out weird. I don't know. I have no clue. But I'm going to read it for y'all because I can see it. Y'all probably can't see it. Excuse the disruption. Yeah, bro. Definitely. Right. So where are we? America is called the New World. And so it is, for it is newly discovered. Right? How our claim, however, is that America is also an old world and compares well with other countries in this respect. It compares well. When they talking about comparing with other countries, they talking about the history, like the African history and all of that. It compares well, meaning what was over there was also over here. Don't you forget it. Don't you forget it. And we ready always. We invite our readers into the field of American antiquities and would call attention to the prehistoric tokens and remains which are so numerous. We are well assured that there are many things which will interest them, and that much may be learned from the study of American archaeology. History is but recent. Right? What are they saying by that? History is but recent. So the history, everything they told us is all recent. It's new. It's not really old. They gonna get into the true old history, right? But we open the door from the historic to the prehistoric, and at once perceive the ancient. The vista of a long past opens before us. It stretches beyond our vision, and we are surprised at its magnitude and variety. There is indeed an air of obscurity covering a portion of it and deep mystery enshrouding it. But this is the case in all lands. To illustrate, Egypt has a history which extends far back into the remote past. But what occurred before history is unknown, because that's his story. They don't talk about the myths. They say it's fables and that it didn't really exist, and they put it in Disney movies for us to guess. Like, my favorite one to watch, right, and this is why I love talking about this, is this one. Because if you watch this as a child, if you seen this movie as a child, then you remember when at the end, what did they give them to keep their mouth shut. They're not gonna show it. Oh, I wish we could pull up movies on this bad boy without getting copywritten. If you saw the movie, at the end of the movie, they gave them bags of money and gold to keep their mouths shut. So they're not gonna talk about it. They gonna cover it up. That's what they're gonna do. Right? History is unknown. Mystery is unknown. The same may be said of Chaldea, Babylon, Assyria, and India. The history of these countries is carried back constantly by new discoveries. They're carried back, new discoveries. Nevertheless, deeper obscurity has come upon prehistoric times. It was the ambition of these Eastern races to be considered very ancient, but the fabulous dates have been disproved, and yet the mystery still remains. What are they saying? Their ambition, the goal of the Eastern races was to be considered ancient, but it was disproved. Already we getting started. China is supposed to have had a history which reached back hundreds of thousands of years. Such extreme antiquity is denied to China, but her earliest history is acknowledged to be uncertain and obscure. Greece has had a more modern beginning, but even in Greece, history was preceded by mythology, because these are the truths. When Plato spoke about Atlantis, he spoke about a true world that existed here in the Americas. Let me repeat that. It existed here in the Americas, and we're going to talk about it. I got the book by Ignatius Donnelly. Yeah, that's a good one. We're going to go through that one for sure. Definitely, for sure. Emerald Bird story, tell about a crystal city inside of the earth. Oh, we're going to check that one out. Let's check it out. We could definitely go into that one. Greece has had a more modern beginning, but even in Greece, history was preceded by mythology, and that mythology is dim and shadowy. The early history of Rome is perhaps better known, but a mysterious people is supposed to have occupied Italy before the Latins migrated from the east. The Latins. All right, let's just make some connections, right? Now, Cheddar Man is the original inhabitant of Britain, or Europe, let's just say, of Western Europe. When they talk about in people or Latins from the east, they are talking about Turks and Tartars. Turks, Tartars. These peoples that carried on that complexion or just that phenotype, invaders from the east. Let me let y'all know something. When the Mongols invaded this earth, they invaded everywhere. Everywhere. They took a bit of everywhere, and their peoples found their way into each and every civilization. Right? The Latins migrated from the east. East of Italy is where? The Caucasus Mountains, Russia, where the Turks would have resided. For sure. For sure. In Scandinavia, we find the story of the Sea Kings. Who are the Sea Kings, copper-colored people? These figure conspicuously as the earliest heroes, but other people dwelt there long before. The Sea Kings, oh, then those are the copper-colored peoples. Oops. In Great Britain, there were also mysterious races. We go back of the Norman conquest to find the Celts and Saxons, right? And go back of the Celts and Saxons to find the Britons and the Basques. The Britons, you know, Cheddar Man and peoples alike, are those peoples, the original inhabitants of that land, who were comparatively modern. We read the story of King Arthur and his round table and the tales of the Druids as marking the earliest period of history. But we find the prehistoric people of Great Britain preceding all. The prehistoric people of Great Britain. We rule the mother-loving world. That skin complexion right here precedes everything. You dig? You dig? You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You can't hate being black, not one bit. And we don't want to use black as a classification. Let's just say melanated, right? Because there's much more to be just black. It's much more to us than that. The same may be said of the continent of Europe. We go back to the days of the Menacingers and to the earliest traditionary periods. But long before these, there were races in Europe. In America, also there were mysterious races. Here, the one great event of history was the landing of Columbus. It is, however, a very modern, new event. What is time? Like, you know, the way they told time, and we're going to talk about that video too. I'm going to show y'all a later video, the origins of the compass and how the Aztecs and the Olmecs created the compass. Yeah, the Olmecs, sorry, they created the compass. Yeah. What is time? What is time? They saying these things is very modern. What is time? What if this whole Columbus stuff happened much earlier than we think? Right? What if? It's just a what if. The prehistoric period in America was much more ancient and prolonged than the historic, and yet there is great obscurity over the entire period. We have set before us the subject of this chapter, the mysterious races, especially those found in America. We are to take the monuments and the relics as an evidence that such races has existed, but we are to study these in our own special source of information. We call them the prehistoric races, and yet may treat them as though they were historic. We are to begin with the Paleolithic age. All right, real quick, right? Just so that we could just stay up on game, you know. We can stay up on game. It's the Old Stone Age. The Paleolithic, also called the Old Stone Age, is a period in human prehistory that is distinguished by the original development of stone tools. So when they talk about Paleolithic, we thinking about Old Stone Age, the use of stone tools. This is the use of stone tools, right? So let's go back into the book. So we are to begin with the Old Stone Age. It is now acknowledged that there was a Old Stone Age in America as well as in Europe. Not so the Stone Age they talk about in history in Europe, there was one over here too. So when they say there's a history in America that compares to the East, this is what they're talking about. In comparison, it's what was happening over there is the same stuff that was happening over here. Nothing different, and if anything, more abundant. Because America is broken up into 3 sections now. But America at that time was considered America as a whole. Just different groups of people here in the Americas. When they talk about Mayans, Aztecs, and Olmecs, those weren't the only peoples in Central America. It was many people. We already went through the history of the Choctaw and Chickasaw. We learned they came from Mexico. They were fleeing the sun worshippers and Cortez. Let's remember, in every kingdom at that point, there was a Spanish dictator finding themselves amongst the royalty. They did it to the Incans, the Aztecs, the Mayans, and possibly the Olmecs. Or whatever happened to those people. Right, it is perhaps due to the investigations of Dr. C.C. Abbott that the first discovery of this Old Stone Age in America was made. This consisted in the finding of many rude relics in the gravel beds near Trenton, New Jersey. Relics which strongly resemble the Old Stone Age of Europe. It was followed, however, by the discovery of quartz implements in the vicinity of River Falls, Minnesota by Miss Frances E. Babbitt. They was finding quartz over here in America. Quartz. And many rude relics over there near Trenton, New Jersey. And if you know Trenton, you know Trenton is a dangerous place nowadays. Don't go over there looking for any of that shit. You will get shot. You get shot up quick. Time is a concept. I'm mad late. You been gave me that comment, bro. My bad. It definitely is. It's just a concept. Because what is time? You know, time is literally just a concept, just like everything else that they done created, though. The terminal moraine of the Great Glacial Sea stretches across the continent, leaving the marks of the progress and decline of the Ice Age throughout the northern borders. Scattered along this terminal moraine at various points, these relics have been discovered which show that man existed even in the Ice Age. So there was man in the Ice Age. And no, we're not talking about the Siberian crossing and Mongol invading dudes. No, these are the people who were from here. Definitely. They are not found at very great depths, nor are they associated with remains which indicate very great age. But so far as they go, they help us to understand the mystery of man's beginning. The condition of man was primitive, scarcely more than a savage, who gained his subsistence by fishing, who dwelt upon the edge of the ice sheet and fabricated rude relics. If more of the extinct animals had been found associated with his remains, or fragments of the food upon which he had subsisted had been discovered, we should know something of his condition. All that we can say about this mysterious race is that they use rude stone weapons and that they belong to the Old Stone Age. The date of man's first appearance is period. The date of man's first appearance is now unknown. Some carry back the Old Stone Age through the entire pre-glacial period, making the two contemporaneous, while others introduce it at the close of the glacial period, making the age of man in America about 10,000 years, and possibly older. And they're going to dive deeper into it as we go throughout the book. But like I said, just pay attention. The prevalence of man at the close of the period is certainly to be acknowledged. The Old Stone Age relics are widespread and show that Old Stone Age man was present in many places. So many places in America, you had different peoples working with stone. So not only in Europe were they getting busy using stone tools, that same knowledge was being processed over here in the Americas. Now the question is, who taught them? Who taught these people how to use stone tools? Because everything has an evolution point. Everything has an evolution point. The knowledge was passed down from somewhere, and this all ties us back to Atlantis. That's my theory. That is my theory. And debunk it if you feel like you can. Let's get into it. We call attention to the cuts here, which illustrate the Old Stone Age relics, which are found in Europe and America. Right? They're finding relics in Europe and in America that have the same type of physique, right? The same style. And the only thing that would explain this is that there were peoples who inhabited the land and broke off. I love looking at Google Maps. Why is that? Well, the number one thing is, why do they call the Atlantic Ocean the Atlantic Ocean? Where did it get its name from? Why do we have the Bermuda Triangle? Right? If all pyramids are quote unquote are sources of energy and stuff like that, right? What energy source over here in the Bermuda Triangle causes planes and stuff to shut down? Right? Also, in addition to that, what we got over here on the west of Africa and over here in Europe, just all of these small little islands, right? Which are the tips of mountains. These islands are the tips of mountains. They can't just break off and float abroad. They can't just do that. And for them to stay in one spot, they have to have sediment foundation that lies miles and miles and miles below the sea, below the average sea level. So we got to think about it. What connects these two pieces of land? If you look at it like a puzzle, it all fits. It all fits. Right? And then taking us to eye of the Sahara, right, the Rikiat structure here in Africa, and this is what it looks like when you're looking at it from above, right? This is the same foundation right of what Atlantis would have looked like. Tell me I'm not bugging. People be saying I be tripping, man. I don't know. I don't think so. Right? But they saying what's in Europe is here in America. It has to have some source. We can't just sit here and make that claim that they brought it from Europe to America. It could have came from America and went into Europe. The point is that these relics existed way before colonial times, right? And it proves that there was some type of peoples that lived in between who could have taught them both these styles of stone art, stonework, right? Let's continue. The specimen represented as European was described by Dr. Thomas Wilson in the American Antiquarian and is called by him the Chalian or Saint Etienne type. The American specimen was described in the same journal by Dr. C.C. Abbott and said to be a good representative of the agrolite of the Delaware. Dr. Abbott speaks of others in the shape of rude axes, some of which exhibit an imperfect groove, as intended for a handle near the middle. It will be noticed that there is a striking resemblance between the relics found in America and those found in Europe. The shape is that of a pear. The European specimens generally contain a gloss upon them, which is called the patina, and frequently have dendrites upon the surface, which are sure signs of age. The American specimens very rarely have the patina or the dendrites. Professor Wright, however, says that the relic discovered by Mr. W.C. Mills in 1889 at New Comerstown, 15 feet below the surface, has the patina characteristic of the genuine flint implements of great age in the valley of the Somme. This leads us to the consideration of the apherious gravels and lava beds. The discovery of a fragment of a human skull associated with the bones of the mastodon in this apherious gravels of Table Mountain at the depth of 180 feet in 1857 was an event which excited interest among all the learned societies in America and Europe. Why is that? Because they say, right? They say there was no possible way that they could have even had elephants here in the Americas, right? Right? Woolly mammoths, elephants, whatever you want to call it. But this is what people forget. They say that those animals crossed over the land bridge or whatever during the Ice Age. I'm trying to get to the fucking peace pipe. To the Ice Age or whatever the case may be, but that's not entirely true. They are from America. Right? These bad boys, even if they weren't from America, man, they were here first. And that's just that. And this is the proof. Right? This is the proof. Elephants just evolved to what they look like today. But prior to that, they were woolly mammoths and mastodons. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That's it. Ancient America, the true old world. That's why they got so excited. Because why would European and American archaeologists, right? Why would they be getting so hyped to find that they to learn that they found human skulls with mastodons? Oh my gosh, human skulls and mastodons, right? If that's the case, that they moving like they ain't never seen it before. However, right, we all know that they've been dealing with elephants in Africa or whatever the case may be, or in Europe alone or whatever the case may be. But they're excited to find that they found the human skull with the mastodon here in America. Why is that? Why is that? You gotta ask yourself those questions. A few years later, in 1866, Professor J.D. Whitney announced the discovery of a skull, nearly complete at a depth of about 130 feet. This was in Calaveras County, on the western slope of the Sierra Nevadas. The deposit rested on a bed of lava and was covered with several layers of volcanic deposits. The skull was embedded in consolidated gravel, in which were several other fragments of human bones and remains of some small animals, and the shell of a land snail. Land snails were huge, but like I said, when we're looking at these mounds, right, or these burial mounds, or just mounds in general, they gave us a pretty good depiction. I'm sorry that we keep going through this, but we're gonna find it. This was a pretty great depiction of what it looks like inside a mound. A very great depiction, and this is technically what they're describing here right now. Many were inclined to doubt its geniuses. Some maintained that the miners had perpetrated a trick, as the skull was taken from the shaft of one of the ancient mines. Professor Whitney, however, published a letter in which he maintained the geniuses of the find and claimed for the skull extreme antiquity. It's very old. His words are, "I feel no hesitation in saying that we have unequivocal proofs of the existence of man on the Pacific coast prior to the glacial periods, before the Ice Age, prior to the existence of the mastodon and the elephant, and at a time when animal and vegetable life were entirely different from what they are now. Plants were bigger, trees were bigger, animals were bigger. Tall trees posing in front of giant trees." This is where I seen these photos, right? Oh, that's a more recent one. We got to go to like the old photos. I'm sorry I keep sidetracking y'all, but America is really the true old world, bro. The tallest trees were found in California. In the West Coast. The tallest trees were found on the West Coast in California. The tallest trees on Earth, giant trees. Right? We had the tallest trees, the biggest animals, right? The biggest lakes, the Mississippi River, the biggest river, right? And man older than the mastodon. That's what we seeing. That's what they stating, right? Where we at? We're entirely different from what they are now, and since which a vertical erosion of from 2,000 to 3,000 feet of hard rock strata has taken place. He published a monograph on the furious gravels in which he described the various localities where steady pots and olas and mortars had been found, some of them at the depths of 50 feet. Major J.W. Powell has shown that these were just such mortars as are found on the surface, and so should be classed with the Neolithic relics of an advanced type. It should be said also of the Calaveras, Neolithic or New Stone Age. It's the New Stone Age. And they saying it starts in the middle of Near East, right? This is why we gotta cap history. Same thing that was happening over there, it's definitely popping over here. But it's when people moved from the hunting and gathering stage and started settling in one location. So it was no more nomadic lifestyles. They weren't nomads moving from place to place and stuff like that. Where we at? Oh, right. He said it should be also said that the Calaveras skull itself, that it gives contradictory evidence. While in some respects it resembles the Eskimo type, it is far from being such a skull as one would expect to find in the gravel beds. Judging from its position, we should consider this perhaps the most ancient relic which has been discovered, and might conclude that it proved that man existed in its entirety period, but an examination of the skull would lead to the opposite conclusion. BS on the evolution theory, right? The Neanderthal skull stands in the world of science as the representative of the most ancient of the human race. The Calaveras skull is in strong contrast with the Neanderthal. Right, check this out, right? Now they saying this is the BS evolution theory, right? This is the BS that they like to stand with. Straight up BS. But what does this also prove? That Native Americans and Eskimos are Neanderthals. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, Bruce Lee, what you said. There was big trees like that in Florida. There's one in Orlando. Yeah, all over America. But this goes back to what my brother Fox and Sox said, right? And he had a point. He said, we was talking about Siberians and stuff. He said they are the descendants, or the Nahulos are descendants of Neanderthals. Check this out. It says this Calaveras skull resembles the Eskimo type. Eskimos are Native Americans, right? The Neanderthal is a representative of the ancient of the human race. Cap. The Calaveras skull is in strong contrast with the Neanderthal. Native Americans and Eskimos are cavemen. Ding, ding, ding. Wild men of the north. Yo, I love history, bro. I love their history. Like, when they do stuff like this, it's like, how you just gonna give me the facts and I'll just blow it out the water? I blow it out the water. Sorry, not facts, your opinions. Right? They saying the Neanderthal is a representative of the ancient human race. It is not the representative. I mean, it's not the truth. It is a representative. It's not the truth. The Neanderthal is an ape. Right? They are not the same as humans. They are mankind. We are man. It's a difference. It was found at a greater depth and should be the older, but it was superior and so would be classed as the younger. It is the younger, right? It was found at a greater depth and should be the older, but it was superior and was so would be classed as the younger. So it is not the oldest. It is not the oldest. Ha. Dr. Thomas Wilson sums up the characteristics of Old Stone Age man. As far as known, he was short of stature and strong of limb. His head was long in proportion to his breadth. His underjaw was square and heavy, and his chin sloped backward, and he had a retreating forehead. His skull was small in front and large behind. No such characteristics can be recognized in the ancient American. It is a theory with some that the Paleolithic man migrated throughout northern Asia and survives in the Eskimo of the present. Woo! Eskimos and Native Americans are cavemen. It is no such characteristics that can be recognized in the ancient American. Uh-oh. Another one, Fox and Socks. We going up. Got the club going up on a Monday. Hold up, it's Tuesday. Got the club going up on a Tuesday. Got your girl in the cut, she choosing. Yo, we going crazy, bro. No such characteristics can be recognized in the ancient American. It is a theory with some that the Paleolithic man of Europe migrated through northern Asia and survives in the Eskimo of the present. Real cavemen. Real cavemen. This is indeed possible. This Paleolithic man might in the very early ages have passed over the bridge formed by the Aleutian Islands. That's the Bering Strait. That's the Bering Strait. That is the Bering Strait archipelago in Alaska. I just pronounced that word all wrong, but that's the Bering Strait. So they telling us that Americans, ancient Americans, don't have these characteristics. Only Eskimos do. And these Eskimos are the ones who came over that land bridge formed during the Ice Age. Ha. So the next time, yo, bro, you got to, because what else can we say at this point? What can you say? They can't tell us nothing. This is all facts, bro. These books are older than us. So whatever history they teaching up in that school, kiss my ass. It's just not gonna work no more. It's just not gonna work no more. But yeah, man, these Native American Siberians, these Eskimos, they crossed over the land bridge. They were not ancient Americans. Not us. Not us. These were the Chinese, the cavemen, the Manchurians, the Tartars, some of them. It's another group of people I'm looking for. When a name comes back to mind, I'll tell y'all. Right? This is indeed possible. Let's continue, right? He may have migrated southward, keeping on the edge of the ice sheet. He may afterward, after the ice sheet retired, moved northward. So they came down here into the Americas, right? And then this is proven in stories from like the Navajo, who say their ancestors came from the north. And then they migrated southward where it was warmer, more temperate. The southeast, the southwest, more temperate. And then moved back north and became Eskimo. Even though that's a derogatory term. But who gives a huff? Because they will still call us Indian. Or they will still call us the big N word. I know it. If they know it, I know they would for sure. Even though you do got some black Eskimos. But those folks probably even migrated from the south with them. Right? Let's continue. He may have moving northward, leaving a few stray specimens buried in the gravel beds. But the Olas and the Martyrs are still unaccounted for. In reference to the relics found in these gravels, Professor F.G. Wright says, I was so fortunate. Yo, hold on. We just gotta stop real quick. Like, I just cannot run away from this. This is madness, bro. Because if you think about it, they do live like people in caves. They build these teepee huts that's like a cave, right? They cover themselves in animal skins to keep warm because in them caves is cold. Even colder in the north. They just brought the entire lifestyle with them. And they look, you know what? Oh man, I'm not even gonna go crazy like that, bro, but they just have a certain look to them that look like something that ain't a human. But you know what? Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. Yeah, the igloos too, right? The igloos too, right? Big facts. Big facts. Now let's get back into it, because I just couldn't get off of that. Like, that was just crazy. The way it was just playing in my head just now is madness. But in reference to the relics found in these gravel beds, right? Professor F.G. Wright says, I was so fortunate as to run upon evidence of a previously unreported instance of the discovery of a stone mortar under Table Mountain. This mortar was found in 1887, 100 feet below the surface and 175 feet in a horizontal line from the edge of the basalt. So what is Table Mountain? Now, like I said, we gotta stay informed as we go through this. just so we can know where at in America this is, right? Table Mountain. Oh, this says in South Africa. Oh, okay. Is that what they talking about? Edge of the basalt made from a small boulder. It is 6.5 inches through the hollow, being about 3.5 inches in diameter and 3 inches deep. Another martyr was discovered in 1879 and was reported in 1891 as coming from undisturbed gravel, and a pestle was presented by Mr. J.F. Becker to the Geological Society with the assurance that Mr. Clarence King took it with his own hands 20 years before from the gravel under Table Mountain. The Nampa image has excited much attention. It has been discovered by Professor Wright. It was discovered at Boise City in Idaho Territory in an artesian well at the depth of 320 feet and 200 feet below the lava rock. Now that's deep below the land. Now one thing that we got to understand about places like Idaho is that their geographical landscape now is a diverse landscape. Now most people think of Idaho and just thinks of plains and valleys, like, oh, what would live out there, what would be out there, but people didn't know there was mountains, forests, lakes, wild different stuff that existed in that area a long time ago. People got to think about this stuff. A lot of lakes were drained and replaced and put in new places to cover up other stuff. They changed the entire geographical setting of some states here in America. It was completely different hundreds of years ago. Completely different. Even the cities, they strategically made the big cities what they were based off the energy sources that the Aboriginal peoples used here in America. California, Chicago, New York, what else? Georgia. Those are all big cities, right? I mean, Atlanta, big cities that generated high amounts of energy. There were pyramids and mounds that existed in these places that was as big as the eye could see. So we got to understand, it was a different landscape a long time ago. The deposits may have been caused by some ancient obstruction of the Snake River, or by some sudden flood caused by the melting of glaciers of Yellowstone Park. There were glaciers in Yellowstone National Park, right? And now we see that it was a flood also over there. What flood? Could they be talking about the biblical flood? We may never know. Got to do some archaeological research ourselves over there to figure it out. The image, according to one account by Professor Wright, was made of clay, the same kind of clay which came out in balls from the well. According to another, it was carved out of a rather fine pumice stone, though in his last report it was made of slightly baked clay encrusted with a coat of red oxide of iron. It was 1.5 inches long. It came up in the sand pumped through the heavy iron tubing, 6 inches in diameter. They found this little figure here at the bottom of this well, but made out of these different minerals. Proof that they was creating stuff and shit. Like, this is basically like arts and crafts. This is arts and crafts. Mind you, kids wouldn't even know how to do this type of stuff today. Right, you got to take classes with clay and all of that. They was just making people out of clay. Like, fuck it. Like, I was born like this. I was born knowing how to do this. Different, talented. Ancient America, truer world. Right, where we at? The high degree of art displayed is noteworthy, and the proportions are perfect. See, the high degree of art is displayed. They were artisans, masters with that art. Is noteworthy, and the proportions are perfect, and there is a pose of the body that is remarkable. These differentiated from anything that has been found among the relics of the mound builders. Okay, so these are different from the mound building relics. Okay, let's keep that in mind. So this Napa image is not of mound builder creation, I'm assuming. Another discovery was the so-called fossil footprints. It was made by Dr. Earl Flint of Nicaragua. The footprints were found in the solid tufa in the neighborhood of Lake Mananagua. He found also in the same vicinity a cave which contained rock inscriptions, some of them in the shape of sun symbols. Told ya, this was all throughout the Americas, sun and serpent worship, right? And other people just doing some extremely weird stuff. His theory was that the footprints and inscriptions, it's a fossil footprint, a footprint they found in the mud. It looks kind of big, probably like a size 12, maybe, possibly, right? A European Paleolithic cave, sorry, the cave that the Eskimos came out of. They're showing us the cave that the Eskimos came out of, an American Neolithic cave in Colorado. Okay. Where we left off at. His theory was that the footprints and inscriptions were made at a very ancient date and that man existed as early as the Eocene or the Miocene. The Eocene is the second of 5 epochs in the Tertiary period, the second of 3 epochs in the Paleogene, and lasted from about 55.8 to 33.9 million years ago. Now this is just their geodated. That's just how they dated things. I got this from Wikipedia. That's their geodated. It could be more modern. That's what I hate about their dating platforms and how they date things and stuff like that. We know they lying about that Neanderthal being a representation of man. So I'm assuming they will lie about any and everything else just to make sure that their narrative seems true, right? Imprints were sent to Professor Barrett, to Dr. D.G. Brinton, and to Professor F.W. Putnam. And with them, specimens of the shells which were found with the footprints. See plate. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, they sent them with specimens that was found before. Yeah, I read that correctly. This discovery caused considerable discussion, but Dr. Brinton and others took the ground that the tufa in which the footprints were embedded may have been a result of an eruption, volcanic eruption, comparatively recent, and that the shells and other associated tokens do not show great age. They claim that the cave dwellers were capable of marking complicated sun symbols upon the rocks and protecting their feet with sandals as they walked over the tufas is not in keeping with the idea of great antiquity. Certainly man who was associated with distinct animals was not likely to have attained to any advanced state, which is cap. That's big cap. Because a lot of these peoples that existed here in America learned these things from other people. Sandals on the feet, Jesus sandals. Just remember that term. If Jesus had sandals, then we know sandals are old, right? You had to keep your something on your feet. Most people, to prevent yourself from getting dirty, to prevent the feet from getting dirty. Sandals is something that been existed. We just don't know them as sandals, right? That was like neither here nor there. I just had to let y'all know. We turn next to the cave dwellers. It is due to the naturalist Lund that the discovery of cave dwellers in America was made. In a cave excavated in the limestone on the borders of a lake in the province of Minas Gerais in Brazil, he dug out the bones of more than 30 individuals, mixed up promiscuously. With the human remains were found those of several animals still extant in the same region. Humans co-inhabiting with animals. Ancient America. True old world, right? Pursuing his researches, he explored more than 1,000 caves, but only in 6 of them did he find human bones associated with extinct animals. That means these people were living amongst animals, right? Not so much hunting, but more so for agricultural purposes, all around uses. They hunted and they used some for livestock, breeding, to grow farms and stuff like that, right? He succeeded in gathering complete specimens of 44 species, now extinct, including a rodent the size of a tapir. What is a tapir? This is what they found here in America. They found a rodent the size of a tapir. They found that hair in the ancient America. Yeah, domesticated animals. Yeah, domesticated animals. They were living with domesticated animals. Word. Word. Yeah, word. Word. Let's go back into it. Where we at? A peccary twice as large as the living species. What is a peccary? This is why we gotta understand. These is the animals here in the ancient America. A peccary, twice the size of its species. So can this be compared to a hog? Because if anything, boars and hogs, they're aboriginal to America. Yeah, I got that drop coming real soon. Wild boars, aboriginal to America. And it's all in this Choctaw Chickasaw Natchez book. But we got that coming soon. Right, what else? To a peccary twice as large as the living species, a megatherium, a large cat bigger than a jaguar. A large cat bigger than a jaguar here in America. But what the hell is a megatherium? Right? A giant elephant-sized sloth here in ancient America. You had I'm crying, bro. You stupid. I'm crying. Nah, for real though. For real. A giant cat and a megatherium, a hog as big as an elephant here in ancient America. A smilodon. What is a smilodon, right? This is why I highlighted all of this stuff, because we have to understand what we are looking at. A saber-toothed tiger here in ancient America, big dog. In ancient America. So what they gonna say now? When that Ice Age Disney movie, where I think that's based at. Watch the movie. They have the Great Flood playing in the movie. They have the flood happening in the movie. They have the breakup of the continents happening in the movie. It's happening in the movie. That's why I said Disney, they smart with it. They super duper smart with it. But just imagine you walking your dog and a smilodon, saber-toothed tiger, pop out. What a time to be alive in America, man. A large animal akin to the saber-toothed tiger. A edentate the size of a tapir. What is a edentate? I forgot I could do this. A mammal of an order distinguished. Oh, so it's a mammal. It's like a giant sloth. Another giant sloth. Animals were way bigger at one point in time. This is what I was saying. And also a species of the horse, similar to our own, a llama and several monkeys. Right? Y'all remember this one? In Cusco? I know y'all remember this one. And wow, I showed y'all a video game. But y'all remember this one. Cusco, that's a real city. City of David. That's a real city, biblically. Over there in South America. Emperor's New Groove. Y'all remember this one. Disney know what the hell they be doing, man. They know what they be doing, man. But yo, the species of the horse. I thought horses wasn't aboriginal to America. I thought they came from they side. I thought the conquistadors brought horses over here. Well, we just learned that was cap. Yeah, Fox and Socks, this is the true old world, bro. Some yabba dabba doo. subs back, yo. Yeah, but never do. Nah, for real though. Nah, that's some real Flintstone shit. For real. Like, yo, look, even the Flintstones. Where y'all think that was based at? We gotta start to ask these questions now, man. For real. They got llamas, monkeys. Lund claims the presence of man on the American continent from very remote antiquity, that his appearance dated in South America not only earlier than any prehistoric period. Oh, look, y'all see the comment? I be wildin'. Horses in America. I be wildin' now. That was a big one, though. That meant a lot to me, though. But even earlier in the prehistoric period than his claim for man in Europe. Hold up. Lund claims the presence of man on the American continent from very remote antiquity, that his appearance dated in South America not only earlier than any prehistoric period, but even earlier in the prehistoric period than his claim for man in Europe. As several species of animals have disappeared from the fauna since his advent. Several animals have disappeared. A lot of animals. Think about it. You won't see a lot of these animals in America anymore. Most of them were either murdered or rounded off and sent to zoos all around the world. That's what they do. They send our history to museums and zoos all around the world. Like, here, take a piece of the relics. Right? And they take that away from the land. The true Mother Earth, America. Right? Another explorer at Mexico also tells us that on the banks of the little stream of Frias, 20 leagues from Buenos Aires, he met with human fossils mixed with charcoal, pottery, burnt and scratched bones, arrowheads, chisels, stone knives, together with a number of bones, extinct animals on which there were marks of chopping, evidently done by the hand of man. So they was cooking and burning stuff. That's what they was doing. Cooking, burning, and killing stuff. That's what they was doing, basically. That's the hunter lifestyle. That's a hunter lifestyle. Right? That's what the hunters did. Most hunting communities that hunted and weren't based off agriculture, that's how they did things. So this could have been from a hunting society. A Mexico discoveries led to the long discussions. Burmeister rejected the theory of the contemporary of man and mammals whose bones were found together. The Argentine Scientific Society even refusing to listen to a memoir upon this subject. A discussion has arisen about the caves in geological time, which we must assign to the upper stratum which the human bones were found. Darwin considers it recent. Burmeister assigns it to the Quaternary, while Lund thinks they are alluvial deposits. The discoveries in North America are no less curious, though. We accept them with a little more confidence. See figures 8 and 9. And 10, these figures right here. Here the cave dwellers, so far they have been discovered, have proved to be comparatively modern. There are no examples in which the cave dwellers and extinct animals were associated. A great contrast exists between caves in North America and those in Europe. We call attention to the cut, which represents a cave at Galen Ruth in Bavaria. It shows how the bones of man were deposited by the floods, which filled the caves in intervals, and how the stalagmites gradually accumulated and covered over the layers of bone with a rocky crust. In contrast with this are the shelter caves, which were occupied by the cliff dwellers. In them were the houses of the people and all the conveniences for permanent abode. The cuts show that the American cave dwellers were Neolithic and not Paleolithic, New Stone Age and not Old Stone Age. So the cave dwellers were a New Stone Aged people, right? This is where I put down the little description of Paleolithic, whatever that is, but we don't need that anymore because I gave it to you already. Caves have been discovered on the northwest coast in California, associated with kitchen middens. Shelter caves have been discovered near the Atlantic coast. One of them near Chickies, PA, has been described by S.S. Howdman. It is said to have contained many rude stone relics as well as human remains. Relics and all of that stuff is just proving that there was a society, or there was societies and groups of peoples that were existing in the lands around these times. Is proof that they knew how to make relics, they knew how to make hieroglyphs, they knew how to make symbols, they knew how to cook food, they knew how to use tools, they knew how to do all of these things before the arrival of the European man. What does this say about America? The first family cookout, for real. Yeah, Bruce Lee, camels are indigenous to America. Big facts. Big facts. They was just talking about that in the book, though. They were just talking about that. But yeah, the first family cookout. You know what I mean? They was burning stuff, cooking, chopping things up, making food, doing wild different stuff, right? But this is all happening in old America, ancient America, right? This is all ancient America. Shelter caves have been described by C.C. Baldwin and M.C. Reed as found as Elaria in Newberry, Ohio. These contain many bone relics such as owls, needles, chisels, and various other rude articles. That means they was chipping at stone, making different relics with the stone and different stuff like that. These people knew how to craft. That's what that's stating. They were good with arts and crafts, once again. They resemble the tools used by the Aborigines and can hardly be ascribed to an ancient race. They illustrate, however, one point that the condition of the cave dwellers and early hunters has been perpetuated among the hunters and savages of this continent. I mean, if you living in a cave, that means you're not close to what would be like the plants and like fishing and water, things that require agriculture. To be in a cave, you have to live like a hunter. Just like bears and wolves and all of them do. Those are hunting animals, right? They're not agricultural animals. Rabbits are like agriculturals, even though they live in the ground, right? They come out of the ground and stuff, but we could give a list of many different animals that are agricultural, that live in the wild, you know, that live with the land and not in caves and stuff like that. You have to be a hunter to live in the cave because you're not next to any other resources of food or other commodities. Like, it's literally like bro was saying, like the Flintstones, you in a cave, like cavemen, you learning how to start fires and stuff like that. That's what you're doing. You're using these tools to start fires and stuff. So to be in a cave, you had to live like a hunter. That's basically, that's just what that is. The absence of these bones of extinct animals, as well as the character of the relics, would prove that they were comparatively modern. Colonel Charles Whitsley held that there were 3 races in Ohio, the first being the mound builders, the second being the cave dwellers, and the third being the Indians. So they're classifying all 3 different groups of peoples at different time periods, saying that one lived after the other. So Indians are not mound builders, cave dwellers are not Indians, and cave dwellers are not mound builders. These are just different societies, different peoples. Cave dwellers didn't build mounds because they lived in caves. Indians built mounds. True, definitely. Thus proving that maybe some of the mound building society lived upon the Indian. However, some Indians lived in caves, thus proving that maybe the cave dweller society passed through the Indian. It's all based off where you lived at the time, right? But Professor Reed held that there was a race preceding the mound builders, a race whose skulls were very thick and of a low type. Professor F.W. Putnam draws a distinction between early mound builders and late Indians. He draws a distinction between early mound builders and late Indians, assigning to the latter the long, narrow skulls so common, but to the former the round skulls, and considers that these were of southern origin. Woo! They going crazy. right? The race before the mound builders of southern origin. So who were these people, right? A sheltered cave was discovered near San Jose in California by Stephen Bowers. It contained a number of baskets which were bundles of painted sticks covered with peculiar signs, probably the outfit of modern medicine men. Medicine men are priests. These are priests. As we learned in the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Natchez book, when the Chickasaws and Choctaws came to the Americas, they traveled with their medicine men, and their medicine man carried their fabusa. The fabusa was a pole, something similar to like what Moses carried, or like a cross, right? And that cross served as a compass to help guide the people, right? Much faith in the serpent, the great serpent, man. This is all true. This is all a true story. Go check out the video. It's on my channel. Caves have also been found in Utah, biblical Utah. But as the remains of man were, and let's check this out, plan of mound at Dunedin, Hillsborough, Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. Caves have also been found in Utah, but as the remains of man were been described by Mr. Paul Schomer. He speaks of them as divided into temporary camps and regular settlements. The relics in the heaps varying according to the locality. In Southern California, tons of flint chips are found scattered about in all directions. Knives, arrowheads, and spearheads in large numbers. There were graves in some of these, and painted slabs pasted over the graves. Cups, ornaments, shell beads, cooking utensils were also found. Sandstone mortars of large size with pestles and assortment of cups of serpentine, spearheads of obsidian, lance points of chalcedony, a bronze cup filled with red paint, corroded iron knives, the relics all showing great variety and indicating successive periods of time. The last period being as late as the time of the Spanish occupation. So saying that all of these different relics were present and were able to be found prior to the arrival of the Spanish. So this is up until the 1500s. But look at all of these different materials they got going on. Like, Jesus Christ, like it's like a gold mine. Back in the day, if you was to do a stick up on these people, you would be rich, like big rich. All of these different relics you find here in America, ancient America, the true old world. Chalcedony. What is chalcedony? Look at this. A microcrystalline type of quartz occurring in several different forms, including onyx, agate, or whatever, and jasper. These one of these crystals that them like crystal worshiping spiritual girls be having and stuff, like, right? That's one of those things. Chalcedony. They got lance points. They got obsidian. Mad different stuff. Right? And up until the Spanish. So once the colonizers came, they took everything. There are also shell heaps in the interior. These contain freshwater shells and illustrate the fact that the natives everywhere gained their subsistence from the waters. We may take the evidence that fishermen, hunters, agricultural people, and villagers dwelt in various localities about the continent. Right? Like I said, it was multiple different people. And depending on where you lived, that's what you ate. That's how you lived. That was your lifestyle. So like I said, in a cave, you're not near water unless there's water access close by. And if anything, it's just a stream. Right? Caves, they up in the mountains. These caves are in high places of high elevation. Fishermen and agriculturalists were more likely to be closer to the ground, thus putting them next to plants and vegetables. Like, that stuff also ties into your family genetics, right? Wherever your family comes from, that's how they ate. And that passes through your stomach, right? So it actually proves to show what type of food you should be eating, right? Because it's a lot of garbage out here, and we just got to stay safe. This is also why you got to do the research. It's important. But let's continue. The theory of the gradual progress of mankind in man is demonstrated here as in Europe. The American races stretched from the Arctic Circle to Terra del Fuego, where they said that they found giants at, Patagonia and stuff like that. But a great variety is exhibited by them. It is a question whether we can ascribe to them aboriginal unity or say that they were all indigenous, right? It's a question, right? Were all of these people indigenous, right? Or did they just unite under one aboriginal banner, right? Some people being from other places, traveling, migrating, whatever the case may be. That's their biggest question right now, and that's the question that most people should be asking. This is why we have to learn. We just found out that the Eskimo were cavemen from Europe, so we know that they're not indigenous. That's for sure. Now all we got to do is just continue doing the breakdown on the mound builders, cliff dwellers, and those who lived in the pueblos. Let's continue. We now come to the period of the mammoth and the mastodon. We're about to go crazy. There is a mystery about this period. There is no doubt that these animals once existed on this continent and that they may have been contemporaneous with man. They existed hand in hand with the homeboys, with our ancestors, right? It is not improbable that the mound builders were acquainted with the mammoth. In the bottomland of the Barbouche River, Gasconade County in Missouri, Dr. Koch discovered the remains of a mastodon, a mammoth without the hair. The animal had sunk in the mud of the marshes, borne down by its own weight, and being unable to regain its footing had fallen on its right side. So this mastodon died by sinking in the mud. Here it was attacked by aborigines who threw at it arrows, stones, and pieces of rock. These aborigines being hunters, right? Because the agriculturalists lived hand in hand with mastodon. They didn't hunt mastodon, right? Mastodon was considered to be like what they say elephants are today. Good luck. The hunters hunted the mastodon, and that's why they went extinct here in America. And we got to keep in mind, like I said, agricultural societies, fishermen, cave dwellers, different groups of peoples. These is like, it's like looking at cavemen attack like a polar bear or like a woolly mammoth, or like throwing sticks and stones at it, right? With no knowledge, they just trying to kill it. That's it, so they can eat. That's it. They didn't live one with nature. They tore apart nature. They bit trees and did stuff like that. That's what hunters did, right? But we're gonna continue because they did live peacefully too. We're not gonna sit here and make it seem like they were savages. Everybody lived peacefully, you know. Everybody had their own style of living. We're gonna learn more. Stay in tune. Where we at? All right, it was attacked with arrows, stones, and pieces of rock, and it succeeded in lighting fires around it, to which the heaps of the cinders, some of them being 6 feet high, still bore witness. Some of the rocks weighed no less than 25 pounds and had been brought from a great distance. The following year, he made a similar discovery in Brenton County, Missouri. Here, under the thigh bone of a mastodon, he found an arrow of pink quartz, and a little farther off he found 4 other arrows, all of which had been shot at the mastodon. They were shooting pink quartz arrows at mastodons here in America. Here in America. Doing wild knucklehead shit like that, going crazy though. So them depictions you see that was drawings and stuff, it's actually real. Yeah, I mean, this is what the cavemen were doing, though. The cavemen was on that type of time. It's different. Unfortunately, Koch's want of scientific knowledge and the exaggerations with which he accompanied his story at first threw some discredit upon the facts themselves. But the recent discoveries of Dr. Huey in Iowa and Nebraska, and by the author in Ohio, have now confirmed them. In all of these localities, the bones of the mastodon were mixed with the ashes, traces of fire, and arrowheads, and stone weapons were in close proximity. Like I said, once they murked them off, they got to cooking. That's when they got to cooking. They started cooking it. That's why you got traces of fire and ashes, stone weapons, they chopping the meat, doing stuff like that. The animals in all cases seem to have been mirrored in the peat beds and attacked by the men who lived in prehistoric times. In the Davenport Academy, there are two pipes made in imitation to the elephant or mastodon and elephant pipes, peace pipes. One of these pipes is said to have been taken out from the depths of a mound in Louisa County, Iowa. Told y'all. These things were buried in the mounds, often being buried with the person who the pipe thus belonged to. Or it was a trinket, either or. Right? It belonged to the person that was being buried with the trinket. Right? A German clergyman, Reverend A. Bloomer, having first discovered it, handed it to Reverend J.E. Gass, his companion in exploration. It is unreasonable to doubt the geniusness of this kind, even if the remarkable discoveries which were made by the latter gentleman have been discredited. A second elephant pipe, and we're going to check out this figure, possibly, figure 13, which had been discovered in a cornfield by the German farmer by the name of Myers, afterwards came into the hands of Mr. Gass. 3 celebrated tablets were discovered by Mr. Gass in the mound on the Cook farm near Davenport. On one of these tablets is a hunting scene, told ya, hunters, containing 30 figures of animals and men, and the animals being deer, bear, wolf, and fish, and one of them resembling an elephant. So in this scene on the tablet, they had depicted a person hunting deers, bears, wolves, and fish. They carved this in the tablet with their stone tools. So this was a picture. This is like a pictograph of what they were doing at that time. It's like doing artwork today or taking a picture. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? That same ideology applied thousands of years ago, right? And it was all here in America. Big facts. Ooh, yeah. Let's continue. The tablets have not been regarded as genuine. One of them contains a cremation scene, though the mounds of locality give no trace of cremation having been practiced. Okay, so they're saying that it was fake. But how can it be fake if they're carving out pictures of animals that they were living with? So how can you disregard it as genuine? How can you even consider it cremation, right? When you seeing depictions of fire and ash and all of this stuff and other figures, or you're finding these sediments and deposits. So how can you regard or take this and say that it's not genuine? It's the same thing that you're finding in any other place. And this is what I mean when they doing their history, right? They like to switch shit up based off of their findings and the narrative they want to paint. But it's not about that. It's about the truth. Always. We shall speak next of the salt mines. And if you know, with salt comes water. So the salt mines, prior to these being salt mines, something existed there that was similar to a lake or something like that. So keep that in mind. We're going to see this pop up again in this book, probably in the 2nd or 3rd chapter. I'm not too sure. That'll be in another video though. Right, we running and gunning right now. Cypress rafts, peat swamps, and other places where mastodones have been discovered. These have been dwelt upon as proven extreme antiquity, extremely old, but they are classed together here as marking one period of time. During the late rebellion, a cert mine was worked on Petite Anse Island. A fragment of maiden was also found on the salt, 15 feet below the surface of the soil. 2 feet below were the remains of tusks and bones of a fossil elephant. Again, more elephants here in ancient America. The matter was made of the common southern cane, but had been preserved by the salt. So the salt kept these relics preserved deep in the soil, right? The salt. But prior to that, there must have been some water in this area, right? In this area. So that's something that we gotta probably look into, you know. Probably gotta do another video of each of these locations selectively. Davenport, the Ohio Valley, the Mississippi Valley, you know, might not be able to merge it all into one series. But I got y'all though, we're gonna figure it out. The matting was made of the common southern cane but had been preserved by salt. Indescribable quantities of pottery were thrown out, mingled with the remains of extinct quadrupeds. The animals seemed to have been bogged and perished in the miry clay above the salt. This locality was examined by Professor E.W. Hilgard and Dr. E. Fontaine. The latter maintains that the soil above them was quaternary, belonging to the bluff formation, overlying the orange sand. Professor Hilgard says that the deposit was washed down from the surrounding hills, but that the mastodon bones were found above some of the human relics. Dr. Holmes in 1859 made communication to the Philadelphia Academy of Natural Science, in which he described the fragments of pottery found on Ashley River of South Carolina in connection with the bones of the mastodon and Negatherium. What is a Negatherium? This is in South Carolina. Negatherium. They probably meant to say a Megatherium. Yeah, the Megatherium, the giant sloth, in South Carolina. Both of them now extinct animals. Mr. E.L. Berthoud claims to have discovered a complete suite of stone implements in Tartary gravel and Coeville with it. This was on Crow Creek, Wyoming. He also claimed that the stone heaps and circles, flint tools and weapons marking the site of a deserted ancient village, totally unlike modern Indian or mound builders' vestiges. See, different tribes here in America, different groups of people. This is in Wyoming. Tools, circles. Now these stone heaps and circles were representations of religious worship, places of religious worships, where they was putting circles and squares and other shapes and stuff like that, right? They saying that this was not of any Indian or mound building vestiges. However, this is a part of ancient American antiquity, thus proving that it was multiple different groups of peoples here even during the mound building period. Right? So we got to understand, America was a melting pot, like I said, a melting pot of different peoples who all used the same things to basically build civilizations, right? The human skeleton excavated at the depth of 16 feet from beneath 4 successive layers of cypress trees in the delta of the Mississippi River near New Orleans has often been referred to. Dr. Dwaller claimed 3 epochs for the delta. First, that of the grasses, second, that of the lagoon, and third, that of the live oak. Grasses, waters, and oak trees, right? But Dr. J.W. Foster says what he regards as fur-buried forests may be nothing more than driftwood brought down in former times. They got forests buried over there in New Orleans. Tough, right? And they got 3 epochs. With that, basically, that land was a makeup of 3 different geographical settings. right? You got one of grassland, then you got a lagoon, and then you have one where you have oak trees. So things is changing from grassland to water to trees growing, right? Remember, an epoch is a geological time scale, right? 3 different epochs for what was going on in here in America. Now, could this have connections to the biblical flood? That's what we need to ask, right? Or even better, what was Noah's Ark built out of? Oh, it was made out of gopher wood. I was about to say, go ahead and tell me that it was live oak. That's crazy. We speak of these uncertainties about the relics which contain the images of the elephant and mastodon because they illustrate a point. And what point is that? There are no hard and fast lines between earliest age of the appearance of man and the different epochs of the prehistoric age. The mammoth and the mastodon came upon the stage long before the glacial period. They were here way before the ice age. Way before the glacial period, before any ice formed here in the Americas. The mammoths and the mastodons were over here. Their sway is supposed to have been broken by the convulsions and changes which occurred at the close of that period. Specimens of them may, however, have survived even after prehistoric man appeared. The 2 ages overlapped another in the same way that the historic and prehistoric ages seem to have merged together. The records of the 2 being mingled, the one into the other, the same as in Europe. What y'all saying, man? What they saying? What they saying, son? Next time you pick up a history book and you read about something happening in Europe thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, just remember, like I said, it was over here too. So if they got Bible stories, if they got a Jesus, if they got a great flood, if they got a Nile River, if they got all of that, guess who got it too? We do. And if anything, it's bigger. It's bigger. It's older. It's way older. You know what I mean? The pyramids, older. The mounds, older. Right? Come on, bro. We got to stop playing, man. We got to stop playing. There are images of the mastodon inscribed on the bones taken from the caves at Dordogne, showing that man was there contemporaneous with the mastodon. This is in Europe as well. Immense carcasses of the same animal have also been found frozen into the mud in Siberia, and so excellently preserved that the dogs fed upon the flesh. Woo! So these mastodons, after leaving America, they traveled everywhere. They migrated everywhere. And as they went more into the heat, they lost the fur. You know, you have the evolution of the elephant. No more mammoth, you have an elephant. Bodies change, things change due to the geographical location. Just like if you live upstate in New York and you move down south. I know a lot of friends that moved down south. Their entire accent is different now. The way they eat and live is different. You adjust to the times. That's just how things work. People of blood and flesh, humans, animals, we adjust. That's what we have to do to survive. It's the same all around. Other carcasses have been seen floating in the waters of the Lena River, having been washed out from their long resting place by a flood. We keep seeing this flood being the cause of either people migrating elsewhere or animals being moved from different locations. The flood done popped up about 5 or 6 times while I've been reading this so far. So there could be a connection to some biblical flood. There could be. It is supposed that from the same region, the animals whose bodies are found in the peat swamps of Missouri, Michigan, Ohio, New York, and as far south as North Carolina, formerly migrated taking perhaps the same route which their hunters took afterward when they came into this continent. No, they are from this continent. They are from here. The glacial period served to bury the majority of them. The swamps of the Quaternary Age furnished their graves. Uncertain dates are brought before us by these events. Man also came in at an uncertain age. So he's saying that they do not know when man arose in the old world. Right? This is a big question right here as well. Because they tell us that man was introduced over there in the east. Right? But they have no date of where man was introduced over here. However, they say we are in comparison to Europe. So obviously there was man here prior to or at the same time as man was in Europe. The question is, who was here first? That's the question. Well, majority of the places in the East get their religions from those who came up in America. Like I said, the Hindus, the Mayans, there's a connection there. Right? There's a big connection there. We just went through a whole chapter, yo. A whole chapter. Y'all stuck with me for 2 hours and 30 minutes. Nah, that's love, though. I ain't even gonna front. We got chapter 2 coming up. And the next one. And what's this one? The mound builders and their works. Who, what, and where. Who the F knows. Right? We're gonna talk about the mound builders and all of their relics, right? And how the mound builders aren't a group of people. It's just a name given. I mean, they're a group of people, not a tribe. It was name given to multiple different peoples who specialized in building mounds. That's what that meant. Right? Look, the swamp dwellers. Who are the swamp dwellers? Right? The Muskogee. Muskogee means swamp dweller. Right? That's the southeastern peoples. You see these fishermen? These people came from the Caribbean islands where fishing was prominent. Agriculturalists, sun and idol worship. You have pyramids here. These are like the Temucans. More sun worship. Right? Water cults, swamp dwellers. Nomadic peoples, hunters, horticulturalists, Paleolithic, military works, different groups of peoples here in the Americas. We're gonna talk about it, man. I just want to thank all of those folks. Yo, if you stood by for this entire live stream, you a real one, because you just learned right along with me. Right? That's why I like going through these books and all of these articles and bringing them to the channel to cross-reference them, because we could make so many different discoveries just by using that common knowledge, right? I can't wait till we get to the part to where we start talking about the sun worship and the serpent worship, and I can start drawing more connections to Moses, Moshe, and Yahweh, Yahshua, or what people like to call him now, Jesus, or for my Muslim brothers and sisters, Allah, right? Or sorry, Allah being Yahweh, right? I can't wait till we get into that one. The mound builders, their works and relics, man. It's so much within this book. I only been through 5 chapters so far. I got many more chapters to go, so we're gonna be dipping and diving in this one, going back to other books and then coming back to this book. But I'm pretty sure we're gonna see a lot in the other books that kind of cross-reference to what we got going on here. Like I said in the last one that I got coming up for y'all is the history of the Cherokees, right? The Cherokee, not the Cherokees, the Cherokee, the true Cherokees, right? And then we're going to talk about the discourse and the connection between the inhabitants here in America and the 12 lost tribes, right? And how they have so many different similarities, man. This is where we bridge the gap here at Breaking the Black Barrier. We bridge the gap because there's a whole bunch of history that they left out. that they didn't teach us, right? We didn't grow up learning any of this stuff. So we have to do the research and go collect all of this information to get right back to it. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. Nah, great commentating, great spectating, however you want to call it. I appreciate you for even being here, right? Because that's the stuff that give me the energy to do what I want to do what I need to do, and what I love to do, right? Like I said, I appreciate everybody, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell to stay up to date on all content. Stay plugged in like an extension cord. Follow me on Instagram, Copper Colored King. Follow me on TikTok, Copper Colored King. Follow me on Facebook, Copper Colored King. Stay in tune for the next one. We out. Let's get it.